I think what a lot of people get really excited about is how much they have to shell out from their pocket right away on day one or in the first 3 months or in the first 6 months. You don't have a fortune cookie that will essentially tell you how things are going to turn out to be in the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years. How we used to essentially kind of call it as a big four, which used to be the US, UK, Australia, and Canada. I think that has gonna diverge into the big 10 in some sense.
Hi, I am Sashwati Sarkar and you're watching The Times of India. In a world where studying abroad is no longer just about getting in, but about affording the dream, navigating visas and reading the geopolitical pulse, students are more anxious and cautious than ever. From shifting visa rules to rising costs and shrinking post-study work options, the global map of opportunity is changing fast. In today's episode of TOI Study Abroad, we speak to Akshay Chaturvedi, founder and CEO of Leverage Edu, to decode these shifts. Welcome to the show, Akshay. Akshay, most students today worry less about getting admitted and more about the affordability of the journey. If we talk about study abroad aspirants, what are the three most important questions you think every student should ask themselves before deciding whether studying abroad is financially viable or not?
See, first we have to understand that different students come from different kind of backgrounds, and they're not all looking for the same thing. There is a category of student who's perhaps looking to study at one of the best ranked programs out there, be it in America or the UK or somewhere else. There is a category of student who's saying that I want to only pursue a STEM program, and this is how I've thought about my life, and these are the kind of companies I'm going to work at, and this is how I think my career is going to look like, and they have kind of pre-planned it to the last bone possible. And then there is a category of people who are essentially saying that A, I'm looking at it as an option for migration, or B, I'm looking at it as an option for me pursuing a field of study which would not have been possible in my home country. So now each of these cohorts of students looks at these things very, very differently. And while a very high fee for the first or second category is still kind of okay for them because they're looking at ROI in a much longer horizon. But for somebody who's looking at it from a migration standpoint, would like to not necessarily kind of open the bank offers for their higher education, or somebody who's looking at pursuing a program in luxury fashion management or automotive or photosynthesis or sports and so on and so forth. It's basically thinking that, hey, let me get, I'm already an expert or so in my field. Let me get the basics right by understanding how this works in that specific country, and then kind of let me get to the workforce ASAP. So everybody's looking at it from a very, very different angle, very, very different lens, and you hence can't basically put a what do you say? There is no one size fits all approach in this category, and everybody will have to kind of look at it basis what they want and where they come from right now.
Akshay, education loans often come with fine prints that students can't fully grasp, right? What are the most common mistakes students make while applying for study loans and how they can avoid the long-term repayment traps?
I think what a lot of people get really excited about is how much they have to shell out from their pocket right away on day one or in the first 3 months or in the first 6 months. So you end up a lot of. I think most banks have kind of started to become good actors in this. But what we had seen previously and what we still see with a bunch of NBFCs more specifically is that they will make the outgoing cash in the first, you would say, before you start the program, very, very attractive to you. But there would be hidden costs that can kind of make it not a very great product to take in the longer run. So, say for example, somebody could say that, hey, you don't have to pay the insurance right now. You don't have to kind of pay off. There's a much longer moratorium than what you kind of need. You pay me a much lesser processing fee. But in the back of it, there could be a flexible interest rate, which essentially is not, say, fixed at a certain threshold or between a certain threshold, and you essentially it kind of becomes a very different number by the time you kind of finish your studies. And given whether it is undergraduate or postgraduate, the studies are essentially going to go through a period of time where a lot of things are going to happen from a macroeconomic perspective. So you would rather essentially look at the loan in its wholeness. You would rather look at it from the day you interact with the professional who you are kind of getting this loan from to the point you would have fully repaid the loan, and then you look at all the costs, and that's why it's kind of recommended that you work with experts through this whole process. Most banks don't want you to kind of have a third party come in and influence your decision with regard to this. But we often tell people that, hey, work with a consultant one way or the other to kind of get advice around this.
But beyond scholarships and bank loans, what lesser known funding sources should Indian students explore? Are private education lenders or income share agreements worth considering?
Income share agreements, I think it's fantastic that you've kind of raised it up. You see a bit of them in the STEM programs in the US, or you used to. I think we haven't seen a bunch of it in the last 18 months. They weren't while they started off with a role, they haven't been received as well as students graduated those programs. We are still seeing a certain permutation combination of ISAs in Germany, slightly different from kind of the original version. But I would still kind of come back and say that the traditional options, uh, looking at a great scholarship, pursuing a program that you're kind of really a good fit at, and then kind of looking at your savings, or maybe even looking at countries that are not as expensive as the bigger powers as we are. So I think I would generally have people stay away from ISA kind of arrangements, which are kind of still very very fresh, and which haven't kind of proven enough cycles for people to trust them fully. I would rather have people focus on getting the best scholarships. I would have them take the most effective education loans from trusted advisors, and I would also encourage them to pursue something that they're really good at, because that increases the chance of them being able to kind of get a job right away. That increases the chance of they getting great scholarships, they getting options of working at the university alongside their studies, whether it be with a professor, whether it be with a industry slash company that is kind of running a joint program for that specific course per se. And I think all of those situations end up, I would say, much lighter on the student's pocket in the longer run than experimenting with unknowns.
Let's say a student can't afford the UK or the US anymore and wants a low cost, high safety alternative. What are the three countries or regions you would recommend keeping an eye on, considering political stability, job pathways, and quality of education?
Let me step back. I was going to answer your question right away, but then I think the given the fact that you added the second line in your question about political stability, let me take a step back and first answer that. See, you when you're looking at pursuing higher education, whether it's a 1 year, 2 year, 4 year program, you don't have a uh, fortune cookie that will essentially tell you how things are going to turn out to be in the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years. Your By the time your higher education gets completed, what is the macroeconomic climate going to be like? Or in the next 10 years, can you really kind of pinpoint today where are the jobs really going to be? I think what is more important is that you pursue something that is fundamentally very deeply rooted in you becoming a great professional, your completeness as a professional kind of coming through, you being able to kind of build a great network that is going to be around you for a very very long time to come in life. So I would always look at these very strong fundamental things that you need to keep in check before you kind of go on to some of these more short term oriented options. That said, still, I would go back to what I was saying previously. Germany has been a numero option for most people, given there's a very close coordination between industry and academia. We have seen in most instances that the industry is telling academia that, hey, only launch these specific programs, because these are the places where I can kind of give a job to these international students who are going to be coming in. And I think that's fantastic. I don't see that as much in the UK or Canada or Australia. So I think that is going to be encouraging people everywhere else. Other European countries like France, Italy, even places like Poland, or you kind of move further east, Malta. These are all fantastic options. And in addition to that, I would say the Middle East is also kind of coming across as a very what's the right word for it? This is lack of a better word, very interesting optionality for the students who are looking at studying at British or American universities, Middle East campuses, which is slightly cheaper and which essentially gives you access to dual working rights in a lot of cases, which gives you access to a very vibrant job market in the Middle East as well. And I kind of see that in the longer run, this how we used to essentially kind of call it as a big four. which used to be the US, UK, Australia, and Canada. I think that has gonna diverge into the Big Ten in some sense. And that said, there's still going to be a large majority of students who are going to be deferring their admissions and saying that, hey, yeah, but I still want to go to the US. I still want to pursue this specific program in Germany. I still want to go to like this specific college in the UK. So you still will have that cohort of students alive, and they're contributing to this ecosystem which is maturing up as we speak about it right now.
Akshay, standardized tests are not going away, but they're evolving fast. If you would agree with what I'm saying, uh, you know, students choose between IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo, PTE, or even SAT or GRE. How should they choose, and what role does course, country, or visa priority play in this choice?
So this is a great question. We work with all of these providers very, very closely. We work with ETS. They're a strategic partner who own the TOEFL and the GRE exams, and they closely work on the SAT exam. We work closely with the Duolingo guys. We work closely with the Pearson guys. We have seen that you can't essentially kind of put them one against the other. You have different countries, different universities having some form of uh, you would say proximity to one test versus other test, and depending on whether you're going to Canada or whether you're kind of looking at the UK, whether you're looking at the Ivy League in the US, whether you're looking at sports institutes in Australia, whether you're looking at a bunch of really nice culinary institutes that have come up in Switzerland right now or on the East Coast in the US. Depending on that, you're going to essentially take one test versus the other. And what is happening if you can kind of just follow the test cycle over the course of test news cycle over the course of last 2 months, all of them have kind of brought out their newer versions. TOEFL brought out a newer version, so did PTE, so did Duolingo as well. IELTS anyway is like the big behemoth out there. It's bigger than all of these guys put together. And we are essentially seeing that more and more people are aware that students want to choose something which is quick, easy, intuitive, where there is an ability to kind of give frequent retests, and where the turnaround time to kind of get back the results is as early as possible. So I think this is a very interesting space right now. Things are wide out open, and we will see this entire space converging to say two or three big, large, leading players over the course of next 24 months. And I am as excited as you are to see how that turns out to be.
So let's shift our focus a bit to various countries while it comes to, choice. You know. So Germany and Netherlands are now hot picks, but both are tightening English taught programs and post-study work options. What are the most critical policy changes in these countries that Indian students often overlook before applying?
So I spoke about Germany, right? Given Germany has become so hot, let me speak about that first. In the last 18, 24 months, there are parts of the country where they're saying that they've raised their English test requirements. And I think that is you can't kind of fault with that. That is absolutely right. You're seeing similar things not just in Netherlands, but you're seeing that in other parts of Europe too. In a lot of other places, you are seeing that these guys are also looking to bring in a much, what's the right word for it? They're looking to bring in a class which has adequate work experience in that relating to that specific course. And again, I think that's also you can't kind of fault them with that because they're trying to kind of enhance the work experience of this person who's looking to study this program. And these are all going to lead into for absolutely serious aspirants who are looking to kind of build a great career in that specific profession, which leads in from that specific program that they're pursuing. I think these are all like great things for them. So in the short run, you might kind of look at the headlines. They read, okay, their entry requirements are a bit tougher. Oh, they want 3 years of work experience, and me specifically doing this. If they want me to kind of study this, but in the longer run, I think given you're able to network with a much deeper cohort, given you're able to, I'll give you an example. About 2 days back, I was hosting 3 kids from the Wharton Lauder program in my office, which is a program that intersects with the MBA, the traditional Wharton MBA intersects with public policy. And this is a very small program, as I learned, about just 25, 80 people. And the fact that it's a very small cohort of people who have already had a certain amount of experience just kind of binds him in a much more closer way, and their ability to contribute to each other's careers also increases exponentially. So I kind of read very positively in each of these news items, and I think this is better for everybody.
So there has been a spike in F1 visa rejections, especially in the second tier US colleges. What practical steps do you think students should take to strengthen their visa interviews, even if they don't have elite admits?
See, I'll keep my answer short on this one because the situation is evolving very fast and it is happening in front of us out live. But two things I would just like to kind of mention are one. It makes sense for students who are looking to study in the US over the course of next or start their studies over the course of next 12 to 24 months to kind of abide by what are the standing rules right now. If it requires for you to be uh, sharing your social media very openly, you should do that. And by the way, this is not new. Universities used to kind of use your social media from a very long time ago. This is not at all new. It's just that it has been kind of it has become it's come from the government and it's become like a headline grabber right now, and it's come for certain other reasons, the war that is happening in the Middle East and etc etc. The second piece is which is a bit of a conflicting uh, POV, because US was traditionally known to favor students who are coming in from coming in for STEM programs, and we are now seeing that people who are coming in for STEM programs, or you would say STEM plus plus AI, cybersecurity, defense, or some forms of like harder engineering programs, they are under way more scrutiny than the rest of the folks. So, and I don't think traditionally people who come to the US think about just coming to the US for the sake of it. I think that cohort has changed very, very quickly over the last 5 to 10 years. But still, if you're coming for a program that is more focused on liberal arts, that is more focused on climate change, sustainability, all of those things, the scrutiny is not as much. But if you're somebody who's passionate about studying STEM, studying AI, studying cybersecurity, or studying all of these things that I spoke about, studying hard math in the US, I would rather recommend that student like sits out things for the next 6 to 12 months if they're not able to kind of get their visas right, and then still apply to one of these prestigious American colleges, because the quality of education that is administered at some of these campuses and the exposure that comes with it, the opportunities that kind of follow it are second to none. So it's going to be interesting as things evolve, like I said. But yeah, there are some of these very broad thoughts that I can share. This is what even I can see right now.
The US is seeing increasing scrutiny of STEM related OPTs and work authorizations under national security concerns, right?
I kind of answered this mostly in the last question that I spoke about.
So, no, I'm asking what fields of study are likely to face friction in future and which ones are still relatively safe from a geopolitical risk perspective.
Same, I answered this in the last question, right? I spoke about the fact that STEM programs related to which are essentially more hard math, hard engineering, AI, cybersecurity, they're going to be under way more scrutiny. Whereas climate change, sustainability programs that are relatively slightly more liberal arts focused, or say even political science, very funnily, I think those programs are not going to be under so much radar. So I think that gets covered into that segment.
Now let's start. Let's start with the elephant in the room: global instability. Once again, you know, with rising visa restrictions and anti-immigrant rhetoric and tighter job markets in countries like US, UK, and Australia, what should Indian students prioritize more in 2025: country, course, or outcome?
See, I'll again go back to where I started when I was answering your first question. You can't actually look at higher education or building a career with such a short lens. It is not a 1 year, 2 year, 4 year thing. It's not a holiday that you're taking that you will decide, okay, things are not very pretty right there. This weather is not good there. There's political instability there. Let me kind of move my holiday to this other X location. This is your career that you're kind of talking about. So I would encourage people to kind of not get swayed by headlines and speak to experts, do your own research, and take a very longer lens of looking at things. Uh, that set in motion, I would always and always and always prioritize the program you're pursuing. If you're really passionate about what you're doing, if you essentially can become really great at one specific niche, I think your ability to kind of make outsized returns, to have a fantastic career, are much better than anybody else within that segment. So I always kind of focus on that. And of course, that choosing the right program, pursuing something which is kind of really inherent to your own strengths, has to be then matched to the outcome. And I think the country essentially would then follow up as a last item on my bucket list. I wouldn't essentially put it anywhere above.
In a multipolar world, higher education is no longer just about academics. It's diplomacy, economics, and soft power as well. So how, what would be your advice to study abroad applicants, you know, in in these parameters, while they choose a country,
Okay.
soft power especially?
Sure. I would say mostly the soft power rather comes from the country you originally belong to, and I think we are two Indians talking on an Indian publication, and I would say Indians have a great track record at kind of holding out the soft power right now, and that is true across the entire world. So I wouldn't necessarily kind of bother them too much with this additional stigma of which country should I choose basis what has the best soft power, because even these things keep changing. Of course, back in the day, in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was very easy. Okay, like America is number one, everything else is gonna follow. Or you could even say maybe even before that, or even like say in the last couple of years, you could say that okay, UK is like a outlier right away. We have had some of the most famous personalities from our country go out and study in the UK and forgive me, help build a country. But I think that is changing very, very fast. Again, circling back to what I've said before, the Big Four are themselves averaging on to becoming the Big Ten, and you have a large Indian diaspora everywhere, and I think people just coming from where they are going to build out that soft power, not necessarily attuned to where they're going to be studying or building their career for the first few years.
Right, that brings us to the last question of our conversation. Apart from the big four, what are the most student-friendly destinations emerging under the radar? I mean, since you track global trends in the study abroad space, I think this is a very important question that our readers will be eager to hear from you about.
Sure, I've mentioned a few of them. I'll reiterate and then maybe I'll add a few more. Like I said, outside the big four, of course, we've spoken about US, UK, Canada, and Australia, and I spoke extensively about Germany
Germany and
recently.
Netherlands, you spoke about, yeah.
Germany, Germany, France, Italy, Netherlands. Poland is a very interesting. If you essentially look at the Poland, they were on the front page of the Time magazine a few weeks back. I think their economy is doing incredibly well, and they've done a really good job with kind of bringing in immigrants for the right job positions as well. And I think something like that interacts with international students always. Other than that, spoke about the Middle East. UAE, Saudi Arabia, a lot of research investment happening in Saudi Arabia, bringing in students from everywhere. Saudi Arabia in itself is bringing in international universities from all over, and people from Southeast Asia, people from South Asia, people from other parts of the Middle East are kind of looking at Saudi Arabia as a big global education hub as we move forward. In Riyadh, in Jeddah, in the upcoming Neom city as well. And other than that, I think two other interesting options are South Korea and Japan. We see a lot of action on both of those on our app. We have an app called Study Abroad with Leverage Edu, where we have a lot of comments that keep coming in every single day. I think both these are the two very popular destinations that people keep essentially wanting to be at. And I think a large part of it also comes in from the fact that K-pop is so popular and people watch all of these South Korean series and they essentially feel like they want to experience this culture. Japan is interesting because Japan has had Japan has had this problem about with regard to aging population more than everybody else, but at the same time, they have not had a lot of English-speaking uh, ecosystem, which means universities and jobs, which can support an English-speaking diaspora from India or otherwise other parts of South Asia or Africa as well. But that's changing, and I think they're picking up a lot of lessons on how Germany has been able to turn around over the course of last few years. So I think as Japan learns more lessons from Germany, we should see more of that happening. But yeah, like I said, I will go back to my tagline there. I think the Big Four is diverging towards becoming the Big Ten. At the same time, we will still have a lot of people who are very passionate about studying a specific program in a specific university and working in specific kind of jobs. I would rather recommend them to, and I also think they are going to defer out their joining dates and watch out what how things happen, not be dejected by visa rates, and still kind of go out and pursue those dreams over a course of next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, Akshay, thanks a lot for your time and inputs.